I grew this heart into a drifter.
I'm Zack Hunter, and I'm an abolitionist, and I'm passionate about freeing slaves. A couple years ago, I found out that slaves still exist in the world, and I felt this need to go out and free them. And then I learned about William Wilberforce and about other abolitionists around the world who were trying to do stuff like this during their time, and I'd like to be like them.
At first glance, 15-year-old Zack Hunter looks like an ordinary high schooler. And he is, except that in his free time, he helps free slaves. It all began when Zack was just 12. He'd been studying slavery from the past, but didn't realize it was still going on today.
I'd been thinking, if I had lived back then, I would have done something to free the slaves. And when I found out that there was still an opportunity for me to do that, I just sort of jumped for it.
And we'd say, Zack, you're 12, there's really nothing you can do. You're a bit young to try to go free slaves, you can't do that. And then one day he came up with the idea. He said, I can raise money to free slaves. And then with us, we said, okay, share your idea with us.
So Zack started a campaign called Loose Change to Loosen Chains to raise money for groups that rescue slaves. He's also written a new book called Be the Change, Your Guide to Freeing Slaves and Changing the World.
Most people don't realize that slavery still exists today.
There are actually 27 million slaves in the world today, which is more than in the entire transatlantic slave trade between here and Africa. And slavery has so many forms. It's not just working on agricultural plantations, like slavery was mainly here in the U.S. It can be anything from rolling cigarettes to making bricks to forced prostitution in brothels. Many terrible situations.
Today, slavery often starts with a debt. For example, a poor family can't pay for an urgent hospital visit and is forced to sell themselves or their children into slavery. But sometimes it's more sinister. People are told they're getting real jobs. Instead, they find out after it's too late that they've been sold into slavery. Slavery is flourishing in many parts of the world, especially Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. But even here in the U.S., more than 17,000 foreign nationals are trafficked into the country every year.
God made men equal.
Zack is often compared to another famous abolitionist, William Wilberforce, the 18th century British politician whose life inspired the new movie Amazing Grace. When the film's producers heard about Zack, they made him a student spokesperson for their own anti-slavery campaign called The Amazing Change.
This is a pair of shackles that they would use on a modern-day slave today, on a little child.
Last year, Zack spoke to tens of thousands of people at concerts and other events to get the word out. And that was no small feat. You see, Zack battled a serious anxiety disorder when he was younger and had to overcome tremendous stage fright just to get on stage.
The first time I went up on stage in front of a couple thousand people, I was really, really nervous. I told my mom, I don't think I can do it. She said, then don't. I just sort of looked at her and I said, but I have to. She said, no, you don't. So I went up anyway. What I really love about my generation is how passionate and expressive we are. And a lot of good art has been cranked out in this generation alone. And I think that we could even have sort of this new peace and love movement, except instead of like the hippies tried to do it without God, maybe we could try to do it with God.
Amazing grace, I feel